Hey, what's up, everybody? Chad Calek here, and welcome back to the In a Crowded Room podcast, where I wanted to get this short story out to you because something really cool happened this weekend. So this isn't a full, 40-minute episode or anything, but nonetheless, something very powerful that I just wanted to include. This past weekend, I hosted the second of what's usually 6 events a year, where I will travel across the country and meet up with supporters and friends and fans, and I'll host these paranormal weekends where they're ghost hunting events essentially, and they entail meet and greets and just times for fellowship and break bread and have dinner together and just hang out and share stories, answer questions, but also, get involved with active ghost hunting. This event was specifically dubbed Return to AGH because, once every, 3 or 4 years, I'll go back to my old stomping ground, Persia, Iowa, Omaha, Nebraska, that area. And I'll kind of take people down memory lane as to what occurred in my Genesis case in the house in Persia. I'll take people to Persia and share a lot of details that I've never really talked about in the podcast, or things people didn't see in the documentary, and they could see my old haunted home. And so we did that. That was really cool. And I also stayed in Omaha, Nebraska, which is, the stomping ground of my family, in and around that entire area. And then for the first time ever, we held an event, or the first time that I've ever been there, hosted a ghost hunting event, 3 nights of ghost hunting at the Malvern Manor in Malvern, Iowa, which is about 40 minutes outside of Omaha. But the reason I wanted to or the reason I wanted to share this story with you is because, as many of you know, my father passed away a couple months ago. And it was a very painful process. It was not the way I would want anyone to go. And I don't want to get into the details as to how he passed, but it was just very sudden. And it was a rapid decline. And since he's been gone, one of the things that I really struggled with is his decline was so fast. I never had the chance in his right mind, when he was fully there, to really say goodbye. And then when COVID hit, coronavirus hit, they wouldn't allow visitors. So unfortunately, he had to move on to the next life alone. But the moment I landed, I was surprised because I did feel his presence, and that's hard to describe what I'm talking about. But there's just a feeling when he was in the room. There was just we all have energy, right? I mean, literally, we have electrical energy in our bodies. Every human being does, but there's just an energy that people have. And you can feel it when they're around. And I felt it, the whole time. And I got an Airbnb in Omaha, and my friends Bob and Sharon stayed with me in the Airbnb as well. And, we were sharing stories about my father and about some things that he had left me that I didn't know that he had, and how they were just powerful and they meant a lot to me. And we got into different stories about my dad. And I want to share one story with you right now about him that's absolutely hilarious. While my dad was an engineering genius, he was very late to the game when it came to things like email, or, he didn't even get an iPhone. I bought him his first smartphone about a year before he passed. And when he first got his iPhone, he was calling me, telling me, it's broke. It doesn't work. It doesn't do this. It's broke. And I was just like, Dad, it's not It's not broke. There's a process to all this stuff. Why is it that I can give you a toolbox and you can break down an engine to the SR-71, but you can't you can't figure out how to send your email? Um, and he used to always, get frustrated and say, "It's broke. It's broke. I'm telling you, Jed, it's not working." I would always walk him through these processes. But one of the things that happened is I was telling him about Netflix, and he didn't understand it at first. He was like, "I've heard about Netflix, but I don't understand. You just pay a few bucks and you just get just tons of movies." And I'm just like, "Well, yeah." I'm like, "It's like cable, Dad, but it's just better and it's on demand and there's old movies plus new movies." And he's like, "Well, when new movies come out, that's probably where they trap. That's probably where they trick you, right? That's where they trap you into the new money you got to pay." And I'm like, "No, you just pay a set thing." And he was like, "So there's no new. You don't got to pay for new movies." And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "It's just like HBO or Showtime, where they have their old films and then they have new movies that come out." And he's like, "Yeah, but you always got to wait for them because they come out at the movie theaters and then like 6 months later they come out." And I was like, "Well, no, these new movies come out just on Netflix and you just get them." And he's like, "So they're not at the theater?" And I'm like, "Right." And he's like, "Well, does that mean they're just not, the movies aren't that good? Because usually, like good movies make it to the theater and bad movies just show up on cable." And I'm like, so anyways, I'm just describing it all to him. But once I got his Netflix account, he struggled with connecting and signing in. And when I first set it up for him, I set it up for the family account on my end. So I could just pay for it here and he could sign in on his end. Well, I initially gave him his password and he just must have forgot it. Towards the end there, unfortunately, his mind wasn't there. And so I remember calling him one day and I was like, "What's up?" And he was like, "This Netflix doesn't work." I'm like, "Dad, oh, it works. It works, Dad." "No, I've tried everything. You don't understand." And he was like, "I've tried everything known to man." And he goes, "And I called a couple numbers and people didn't even want to help me. They were rude to me." And he's like, "So I finally got onto the Google because he knew how to use Google. He knew how to search for things." And he goes, "And I found a number that's their corporate office. And I called them and I told them my account doesn't work." And I was like, wait, hold on." I'm like, "You called their corporate office to say your Netflix account doesn't work?" And anyways, so I had to just change his password to something I knew he would remember, which was Bob Seger, because that's his favorite rock artist. And so I got him eventually hooked up with it, and he was fascinated with Netflix and Apple Music. He just thought were the two greatest things. Also, on that phone call, we also ended up having a conversation. I don't know how it got into. We would always talk about spiritual things. I think we talked about a couple paranormal documentaries that I wanted to see, and we got in this conversation about signs when people pass away, how they leave signs, or people claim that look, I was contacted by my mother who passed away or my father, that type of thing. And we had this long conversation as to whether or not if we passed, would we contact people? And he said that the only way he would do it is if he got to the other side, whatever that is, heaven in his mind, in his his dialect, what he chose to call it. And he said, if I got there and I didn't have to leave, I would give you a sign. Because I told him, I want you to give me a sign. You better give me a sign. I go, if you went, if you go before I do, you better give me a sign. I said, Dad, if I, go before you do, which he didn't want to hear that. He's like, don't say that. Don't say that. You're not going before I do. And I was just like, no, I know. But I'm like, if I do, he's like, don't say that. I'm like, Dad, I know. But if I do, I was like, you can bet your ass I'm going to give you a sign, And we had this long conversation where he was saying, well, just so you know, if I ever gave you a sign, if anything's ever dark or mean or scary, that's not me. And I said, I know that, Dad. And I said, and I'm certain I would know your energy versus anything else. And anyways, that was just a conversation we had. So, So I'm hanging out with Bob and Sharon, and just talking about Pops and just telling him, I really feel like he's with me. And if you guys remember my dad, my dad always had, a mustache and always had, uh, his glasses, and it was just kind of a look that he had. And I was talking about different pictures and how he carried this look throughout his whole life, and it was just really cool. We just had there's a really cool conversation. Well, the first night that I went to sleep in the Airbnb, it was a big warehouse that was kind of reformatted for a living room and a bedroom and a loft type of situation. And so I didn't have a bedroom door. It was almost like a shower curtain type thing that was there instead of a door. And about 3:30 in the morning, I heard it open, and it sounded just like a shower curtain, just like shink. And I sat up and I thought, "Whoa, is that Bob or Sharon or like what the hell?" And I'm like, "Hello," and no one's there. It's dead quiet. So I lay back down. About an hour later, I hear somebody walking in the kitchen. This would have been about 4:35 a.m. Now, I remember I used to tell you guys my dad was an early riser, and he used to get up super early and make coffee at like 4:35 a.m. So I wake up, and at the time I thought for sure, well, that's Bob or Sharon. They must have gotten thirsty or gotten up or something because I could hear them walking around the kitchen. So I got in the kitchen, and there's no one there. And I even yelled at Bob and Sharon. I'm like, "Hey, Bob, Sharon, are you guys up?" And nobody's up. Uh, so no big deal. I go back to bed, and I'm even telling myself, "Well, listen, you're emotional. You're back here for a ghost hunting event. It is what it is. You're half in sleep, half out of sleep. Who knows what I really thought I heard in my semi-sleepy stage. You know what I mean?" So I almost talked myself out of it, and we're talking about it the following day. And it was really cool. We were just sitting around, again, going down memory lane, and then there was this pause. And all of a sudden, the television comes on, and if you have Netflix, it's so weird. When you have Netflix, once you click on the Netflix button, then you select the account that you want to connect to, and then about 20 seconds later, Netflix will make this sound that just goes, bow, and it's just loud as hell. Well, we were sitting there, and somehow the television turned on, connected to Netflix, and immediately made that sound. Now, to turn the TV on is one process. Then you'd have to click the Netflix button. Then you'd have to click the connect to account. And then you'd have to wait for this. So somehow this thing skipped all those processes and went straight to that. And I immediately looked at Bob, and I started looking for the remote control. Not that I think Bob would do it or Sharon, but your mind just starts looking for explanations. I mean, we jumped out of our seat. This thing came on loud as hell. And I looked at Bob and I was like, "Did you do that?" And he's like, "No, man." And I look at Sharon and she's just looking at me like, "What in the fuck?" So I'm like, "Where's the remote?" And I look, the remote is on the other side of the room. I mean, probably 20 feet from me. Like it's on the other side of the room. And it's not like in between the couch cushions or anything like that where something could have put pressure on it. It's just sitting on this table. And I'm like, "Oh man, that is creepy." And I go, "See, there's weird stuff going on here." And I was walking over to grab the remote, and I go, "God, I wonder if that's my dad." And Bob goes, "Well, did you see the account?" I go, "No." And he goes, "Look, I'd say that's him." Now, this Netflix account came with the Airbnb. And what they told me is that if you have Netflix and you want to use it, you can sign your own Netflix in, but they also offer Netflix as well. So I don't know where this account came from, but remember my nickname for my father, and you guys have heard me, if you listen to me talk about him, um, on the podcast, I just call him Pops. Call him up, "What up, Pops? How you doing, Pops?" And I look at the account, okay? Now I'm going to show you a picture. I took a screenshot of it, and this blew my mind. This is the avatar that came up. And the name of the avatar is LOL, like laughing, Pops, his nickname, and then Celestial, which the definition of celestial is heavenly. LOL, Pops, Celestial. Now, if you look at the avatar here, it's his mustache, his glasses, and he used to do this thing where he would whistle, like whenever things were like spooky and stuff, he would whistle the theme song to the Twilight Zone, and he would raise his eyebrow. And it was hilarious to me. When I saw this account, I was blown away, but I died laughing because this is so his personality to also do it through Netflix, which he and I died laughing that he was terrible at, handling things like Netflix. So you'd have to know his personality, but it would be so in his personality to show me that in the afterlife he had mastered it. And that's exactly how I took it. Guys, this happened, okay? Bob and Sharon were present with me. The TV just came blaring on, just from off to blow, that Netflix sound. And this is the account. This is the name of it. This is the avatar. And I can tell you that I am personally 100% convinced that my father was letting me know he's good, he's there, everything's good. And when I say there, I mean, heaven, what that is to him, that place, the other side. And this was absolutely in his sense of humor, because the one thing we talked about is he said, if I contact you, it'll be in a lighthearted, fun way, so you know for sure that it's me. This gave me chills. It shocked the heck out of me, but in the best way possible. And I think this was absolutely my father's way of letting me know that he's around and he's watching what I'm doing and he's with me. And I felt an immediate sense of relief. I felt that heaviness and that sadness and that almost guilt kind of go away about not having the chance to say goodbye, because it just dawned on me that there isn't a goodbye. There's a I'll see you soon, but there's no goodbye. He's here, and he's with me. And this weekend, I believe he let me know that. So for those of you out there that wonder if these types of things happen, I can promise you these types of things happen. Thank you guys for listening to this short story, and I will be back tomorrow with more. All the best.